I want to tell you about two diseases. The first one has no pain, no warning, no obvious signs. You can have it for years, walking around, going to work, eating, laughing, living your life, and have absolutely no idea. It is quietly changing your heart. Sorry, that it is quietly damaging your heart. Your kidneys, your brain, and your eyes. And by the time you find out, the damage may already be done. And the second one creeps up slowly. It starts with being thirsty too often, tired too easily, going to the toilet too much, easy to explain away, easy to ignore, until one day something serious happens, and then a wound that will not heal, vision that starts to blur, a foot that needs to be ablated, and only then does anyone put the pieces together. So these two diseases together kill more Nigerians every year than almost anything else. And the most devastating part, the part that breaks my heart every time I think about it, is the most of those deaths were preventable, with knowledge, with early detection, with simple lifestyle changes that cost nothing. And the two diseases are high blood pressure and diabetes. And today we're going to talk about them like our lives depends on it. Because for many people watching right now, they do. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Thursday, everyone. And I am so glad you choose to be here today. I wanted to drop a hello in the comments right now. Telling me where you're watching from, and I want to start with a very honest question. Do you know your blood pressure reading right now? And do you know your blood sugar level? Type yes if you know both. No if you do not know either, or some if you only know one, because I want to see where we are starting from today. My name is Loretta Ngweve Sibiel, and this is the Safe Delivery Project, part of Do Take Action family. And every Thursday, 3 p.m., we show up here and have conversations that matter, real health, real life, and real people. So today, there are no guests, just me and you, and one of everything you need to know about two of the most dangerous and most ignored health conditions in Nigeria. And by the time we are done today, you understand what these conditions are and how to know if you have them, what they do to your body if you ignore them, and exactly what you can do to protect yourself and the people you love. So get comfortable, get your water, and let us go. Now, I'm going to start by giving you a picture of just how serious this is, because I think numbers without context are easy to scroll past. So, I want to make these numbers real. Nigeria has one of the highest rates of hypertension, which is a medical word for high blood pressure in Africa. Studies estimated that between 30 and 40% of Nigeria adults have hypertension, and this is roughly 1 in 3 adults. Now, think about the people around you right now, your family, your colleagues, your neighbors. Statistically, at least 1 in every 3 of them has high blood pressure, and most of them do not even know it. So for diabetes, Nigeria has approximately 11 million people living with diabetes. Like 11 million. And this is more than the entire population of some countries. And again, a significant proportion of those people are undiagnosed. They are walking around with blood sugar levels that are slowly damaging their organs, and they have no idea. And the key fact is that the International Diabetes Federation estimated that in Africa, up to 70% of people living with diabetes are undiagnosed. And that means for every person who knows they have diabetes, there is more than one other person who has it and does not know. So now, why are so many people undiagnosed? Like, this is the question you should be answering, asking yourself. And the answer is painful. Like, it's painful. Simple, because both high blood pressure and diabetes in their early and middle stages often have no obvious symptoms. They do not hurt, they do not look like anything from the outside. You cannot feel your blood pressure rising, you cannot feel your blood sugar being too high, at least not in the early stages. And when something can still easily be done about it. So this is why they are called silent killers. Not because they are rare or mysterious, but because they do their damage quietly, slowly, and without warning until the damage is severe enough to cause something dramatic. A stroke, a heart attack, kidney failure, blindness, and amputation. And the most heartbreaking thing about all of this is the age of which it is now happening. Like, high blood pressure and diabetes used to be the thought of as disease of old age, something you worry about when you're 60 or 70. But what we are seeing now in Nigeria and across Africa is this condition showing up in people in their 30s and 40s, young professionals, parents of young children, people who feel completely fine, walking around with a time bomb in their body that they do not know is there. And okay, and so to my audience, I'm going to ask this question. Has anyone in your immediate family, parents, siblings, aunts, uncle, who has been diagnosed with high blood pressure or diabetes? I want you to type yes in the comments, because I want to see how close this is to all of us. So please type yes in the comments. Now, I'm going to talk about high blood pressure, what it is and what it does. Firstly, let us start with high blood pressure, which is also called hypertension. And I want to explain this in the simplest possible way, because I want every single person watching to understand it completely. Your heart pumps blood around your body through a network of blood vessels, arteries, veins, and capillaries. Now, blood pressure is the force with which that blood pushes against the walls of your blood vessels as it moves. Now, I want you to think of it like water flowing through a pipe. If the pressure inside the pipe is too high for too long, the pipe starts to weaken, crack, or burst. And so the same thing happens in your blood vessels when your blood pressure is consistently too high. Blood pressure is measured in two numbers, written like a fraction, for example, 120 over 80. And the top number is called the systolic pressure. Now, the pressure when your heart beats and pushes blood out, the bottom number is called the diastolic pressure. And so the pressure when your heart rests between beats, yeah. So this is the pressure when your heart, it rests between beats. A normal blood pressure reading is below 120 over 80, and when reading consistently reach 130 over 80 or higher, this is the beginning of hypertension. And when readings reach 140 over 90 or higher, that is full hypertension and it needs medical attention. The key fact is that a single high blood pressure reading does not necessarily mean you have hypertension. Blood pressure naturally fluctuates throughout the day. It goes up when you're stressed or active and comes down when you rest. So what matters is whether your blood pressure consistently elevated is consistently elevated over time. And so this is why healthcare providers measure it multiple times before making a diagnosis. So now, what causes high blood pressure? Yes. What causes high blood pressure? This is important because many people think it only happens to people who eat too much salt or are very overweight. And while diet and weight are significant factors, they are not the only ones. Excess salt is a diet causes the body to retain water, which increases the volume of blood in the vessels and raises the pressure. And this is why reducing salt intake is one of the first pieces of advice for people with hypertension, and it genuinely makes a difference. Obesity and excess weight puts extra strain on the heart because it has to work harder to pump blood around a larger body. The more the heart strains, the higher the pressure builds over time. And so, chronic stress is something I want you to really hear, because when you are under stress, your body releases hormones, particularly cortisol, yeah, cortisol and adrenaline. That causes your heart to beat faster and your blood vessels to narrow. And so this raises blood pressure temporary. In short bursts, um this is fine, this is fine because it is your body's natural response. But when stress is chronic, when stress is chronic, when it never fully goes away, your blood pressure can stay elevated for long periods and start to cause damage. So physical inactivity means your heart and blood vessels become less efficient over time. Regular physical activities keeps the cardiovascular system strong and flexible. Without it, the system becomes stiff and pressure rises. So genetics and family history plays a real role. And so if your parents or grandparents had hypertension, your risk is significantly higher. So this does not mean you will definitely develop it, but it means you need to pay closer attention and check more regularly. Age is also a factor. Yes, age is also a factor because as we get older, blood vessels naturally become stiffer, when which can raise blood pressure. But as I mentioned, this is no longer just a disease of the elderly, like I said earlier. So young Nigerians are being diagnosed in alarming numbers. Now, what does high blood pressure actually do to your body if it is left uncontrolled? Yes, what does it do to our body if it is left uncontrolled? Because this is the part I want everyone to understand clearly. First of all, it damages your heart. Yes, high blood pressure damages the heart because the heart has to work harder and harder against the high pressure, which causes the heart muscle to thicken and become less efficient. So over time, this led to heart failure, where the heart can no longer pump blood properly, and then also it causes stroke. Yes, high blood pressure, hypertension causes stroke. You know, high pressure in the blood vessels of the brain can cause a blood vessel to burst, causing a um, hemorrhagic stroke. It can damage vessels walls in a way that makes them more likely to develop blockages, causing an is ischemic stroke. Stroke is the one that of the leading causes of death. Yeah, that particular stroke causes death and disability in Nigeria. And so hypertension is the single biggest risk factor. And also thirdly, it destroys kidney. Yes, high blood pressure destroy kidneys. The kidney, it filter your blood and they depend on healthy blood pressure to do that work properly. And so chronically high blood pressure damages the tiny blood vessels in the kidneys until they can no longer filter properly. And so this is one of the leading causes of kidney failure in Nigeria. And also it damages our eyes. Yes, high blood pressure damages the eyes. The blood vessels in the retina and the back of the eye are extremely delicate and very vulnerable to high blood pressure. So, damage to these vessels causes a condition called hypertensive retinopathy, which can lead to vision loss and blindness. Yes, it can lead to vision loss and blindness. And so the key fact is that high blood pressure is the leading cause of stroke in Nigeria, and stroke is one of the leading causes of death and long-term disability. So many people who survive a stroke are left unable to walk, speak, or care for themselves. So prevention starts with knowing and controlling your blood pressure. Now I'm also going to ask my audience, when last did you have your blood pressure checked? Please type recently if it was in the last 3 months, and also type long ago if it has been more than a year, or never if you have genuinely never had it checked. So please do that. Okay, so now I'm going to go into diabetes, what it is and what it does. Yes, diabetes, what it is and what it does. Now let us talk about diabetes. And just like with blood pressure, I want to start with the basics because I think many people have heard the word but do not fully understand what is actually happening inside the body. Yeah, many people have heard of diabetes, but they don't know what it's actually happening in their body. And so we are going to be discussing that right now. Diabetes is a condition where the level of glucose sugar in your blood is too high. You see some people, they can lick ice cream from morning till evening, like they're never tired. Every day you see them licking ice cream and they don't know they're causing damages to themselves. So diabetes is a condition, where the level of glucose sugar in your blood is too high. So to understand why that matters, you need to understand how the body normally handles sugar. So when you eat food, particularly carbohydrates like rice, bread, yam, and plantain, your body breaks it down into glucose. And so that glucose enters your bloodstream. Your pancreas, a gland in your abdomen, detects the rise in blood glucose and releases a hormone called insulin. Insulin works like a key that unlocks the cells of your body to let glucose in. And so the glucose enters the cells and is used as energy. So blood glucose levels, it returns back to normal. And so in diabetes, this system breaks down. Either the pancreas does not produce enough insulin, or the cells of the body stop responding properly to insulin, or both. So the result is that glucose builds up in the blood instead of entering the cells. And so your blood sugar stays too high, and high blood pressure over time damages almost every system in your body. So I believe we all now understand what diabetes mean and what it does to our body. Now, I'm going to list out the two main types of diabetes. We have diabetes is an autoimmune condition where the immune system attacks and destroys the insulin producing cells in the pancreas. And so the pancreas produces little or no insulin at all. And this type usually develops in childhood or young adulthood and requires insulin injections to manage. It is less common than type 2. Yes, so like I said, that is for the type 1, because the two main type of diabetes, we have type 1 and we have type 2. So for the type 2 diabetes is by far the most common, because accounting for about 90% of all diabetes cases. In type 2 diabetes, the body produces insulin, but the cells become resistant to it, and so they stop responding to insulin properly. So the pancreas works harder and harder to produce more insulin to compensate. So over time, it cannot keep up. Insulin production declines and blood sugar stays chronically elevated. So type 2 diabetes is strongly linked to lifestyle factors, diet, physical inactivity, and obesity. So though genetics also play a role. Now, there is also gestational diabetes. Diabetes. Diabetes, this is a diabetes that developed during pregnancy in women who did not previously have diabetes. It's usually resolved after delivery, but significantly increases the mother's risk of developing type 2 diabetes later in life. So, and it can also affect the health of the baby during pregnancy if not properly managed. But the key facts about type 2 diabetes, it can be prevented or significantly delayed. And so, in people who are at risk through lifestyle changes alone, regular exercise, a healthy diet, maintaining a healthy weight, and regular blood sugar monitoring can prevent the progression from pre-diabetes to full diabetes. And so, this is one of the most powerful and underutilized tools in public health. What are the symptoms of diabetes? Yes, so I'm going to mention I'm going to be talking about the symptoms of diabetes, and this is where it gets tricky because in the early stages, type 2 diabetes often has no symptoms at all, which is exactly why it goes undiagnosed for so long. So, when symptoms do appear, they include feeling very thirsty all the time, not the normal thirst, like not the normal one that when you're thirsty, you go and look for water, but this one, you're always feeling very, very thirsty all the time. Like I said, it's not the normal thirst. So, um, like I said, I'm going to be talking about the symptoms of diabetes. You know, the symptoms, like I said, um always feeling thirsty all the time, but not the normal thirsty, the normal thirst, like, oh, I'm feeling thirsty, I want to drink water. No, no, not that kind of thirst. But this one, you're always feeling thirsty like all the time, but an intense, unquenchable thirst. Like I said earlier, like you just want to drink water, you'll be drinking water, but you're not feeling like you're drinking water. You'll be urinating frequently, especially at night. You will see some people at night, they're waking up like more than 10 times to urinate. And instead of them to go for checkup, they'll feel, oh, maybe it's normal. They'll be feeling tired and sluggish, even after sleeping, blurry vision, slow healing of cuts and wounds, frequent infections, particularly skin infections, urinary tract infections, and also we have yeast infection, stringing or numbness in the hands and feet, which is a sign that nerves are already being damaged. Unexplained weight loss, particularly in type 1 diabetes. Now, what does uncontrolled diabetes do to the body over time? It damages blood vessels throughout the body, both large vessels and small ones. This damage affects almost every organ. The kidneys are severely affected, diabetic nephropathy, nephropathy, sorry, yeah, diabetic nephropathy, kidney damage caused by diabetes, is one of the leading causes of kidney failure in Nigeria. And so many people on dialysis in Nigerian hospitals are there because of uncontrolled diabetes. You see the eyes, they develop a condition called diabetic retinopathy. This damage the it damage to the blood vessels of the retina, and this is one of the leading causes of blindness in working age adults, and it is largely preventable with proper diabetes management. You see the nerves, they suffer from diabetic neuropathy, particularly in the feet and legs. People lose sensation gradually. They may develop wounds on their feet that they cannot even feel. So this wound become infected, and then the infection spreads. And in severe cases, amputation becomes necessary. So diabetic foot complications are one of the most common reasons for lower limb amputation in Nigeria. And then also, the heart and blood vessels are severely affected. So people with diabetes are significantly more likely to develop heart disease and suffer heart attacks and strokes. Now, to my guests, how many of you know someone who has lost a limb or gone blind from complication of diabetes? Or know someone on a dialysis for kidney failure related to diabetes? Please, I want you to type yes in the comments. So I'm going to talk about how to know if you have either condition. Yeah, how to know if you have both condition, that is the diabetes and the hypertension. Now I want to get very practical, because the most important thing after understanding these conditions is knowing how to find out if you have them. Like for high blood pressure, the test is simple, fast, free, or very cheap, and completely painless. It is a blood pressure reading using a blood pressure cuff. You can get this done at any pharmacy, any primary health care, almost most hospitals also, and many community health outreach events. So it takes less than 2 minutes, and it could tell you something that changes your life. And also, you should get your blood pressure checked at least once a year if you are an adult, and more frequently if you have risk factors like family history or hypertension, obesity, high salt intake, chronic stress, or if you are over 40. If you have never had it checked, please make that your action for this week. This week, yeah, this week, not someday, but this week. Know your numbers, because a normal blood pressure is below 120 over 80. Between 120 over 80 and 129 over 80 is elevated. So between 130 and over 80 and 139 over 89 is stage 1 hypertension. So 140 over 90 and above is stage 2 hypertension, and anything above 180 over 120 is a hypertensive crisis, a medical attention. I'm going to say that again. A normal blood pressure is below 120 over 80. Yes, that is for the normal high blood pressure, 120 over 80. And so between 120 over 80 and 129 over 80 is elevated, and between 130 over 80 and 139 over 89 is stage 1 hypertension, and 140 over 90 and above is stage 2 hypertension. And anything above 180 over 120 is a hypertensive crisis and need medical attention. So for diabetes, there are several tests that can diagnose it. The most common is a fasting blood glucose test. And so where you do not eat for at least 8 hours, and then have a blood sample taken to measure your blood glucose level. A fasting blood glucose below 100 milligrams per deciliter is normal. Between 100 and 25 is pre-diabetes, a warning sign that action is needed, like needed. And 126 and above on two separate occasions confirmed diabetes. So there's also the HbA1c tests, which measures your average blood sugar level over the past 2 to 3 months. And this is a very useful test because it gives a picture of blood sugar control over time rather than just at one moment. And so an HbA1c below 5.7% is normal. Between 5.7 and 6.4% is pre-diabetes, and 6.5% and above is diabetes. So you can also do a random blood glucose test at any time of day, regardless of when you last ate. A random reading of 200 milligram per deciliter or above with symptoms of diabetes suggest diabetes and needs follow-up testing. So these tests are available at hospital, diagnostic centers, many pharmacies across Nigeria. Some community health outreach programs offer, they also offer free testing. And so if you have risk factors for diabetes, bring family history, overweight, sedentary lifestyle, history of gestational diabetes, or you are over 45, please get tested. And even if you have no risk factors, knowing your baseline is important. So the key fact is that pre-diabetics, the stage before full diabetes, is reversible with the right lifestyle changes. People with pre-diabetes can bring their blood sugar back to normal and prevent or significantly delay the development of type C diabetes. But this window of opportunity only works if you know you are in it. So testing is what gives you that knowledge. So it's always advisable, always go for medical for checkups. Yes, always go for checkups because it's very, very important. Okay, now I'm going to be talking about the prevention and management. What you can do to prevent and manage diabetes and high blood pressure. Now, this is the section I have been building because knowing about a problem, without what to do about it is just anxiety. So, we're going to be talking about what you can actually do to prevent these conditions if you do not have them, and to manage them properly if you do. For high blood pressure, preventive and management. It's going to start with high blood pressure, prevention and management. First of all, you have to reduce your salt intake. You see some people, they will cook even when the food is okay, but they can't do without adding extra salt in their food. Even after dishing it, to eat, they still pour salt on it, which is not good. So reduce your salt intake because this is the single most impactful dietary change for blood pressure. Salt causes the body to retain water, which increases blood volume and raises pressure. So you do not need to make your food tasteless, but start paying attention to know how much salt you add and reduce it gradually. Also be aware of hidden salt in processed foods, seasoning cubes, canned foods and fast food. Move your body, no, regular by exercising, no, regular, and also regular physical activity also makes your heart stronger and more efficient. And so a stronger heart pumps blood with less effort, which means less pressure on the vessel walls. You do not need a gym, no, just 30 minutes of brisk walking most days of the week is enough to make a measurable difference to blood pressure. Start where you are, even if it's 10 minutes a day is a beginning. And also manage your stress. manage your stress. I know this is easier said than done, especially in Nigeria where the stress of daily life, traffic, financial pressure, and work demands is enormous. But chronic stress is a real and significant driver of high blood pressure. So find what helps you decompress and do it consistently. Prayer, music, a walk, talking to someone you trust, laughter, rest. These things are not luxurious, they are health intervention. Maintain a healthy weight. Excess weight. Yeah, you have to maintain a healthy weight because excess weight, particularly around the abdomen, is strongly associated with high blood pressure. So every kilogram of weight loss reduces a blood pressure to a measurable degree. So you do not need to be at an idle weight to see benefits. Even modest weight loss has an impact. Reduce alcohol intake. Every alcohol consumption raises blood pressure significantly. So if you drink moderate, if you drink mod, moderate, if you do not drink, just if you want to drink, you drink moderate. But if you're the type that don't drink, then don't drink at all. Just to start with. So if you're already diagnosed with hypertension, please take your medication. This is something I want to say very directly because many people in Nigeria are diagnosed with hypertension. Giving medication, start taking it and feel better, and then stop because they feel fine and assume they are cured. So hypertension is not cured by medication. It is controlled by it. So if you stop your medication, your blood pressure rises again. Please take your medication consistently and do not stop without discussing it with your doctor. So for diabetes, I'm going to be talking the prevention and management for diabetes. First of all, you eat with awareness. Eat with awareness. This does not mean going on a complicated diet. It means understanding which foods raise blood sugar quickly and limiting them, like white rice, white bread, eba, pounded yam, soft drinks, sugary snacks. These are all high glycemic food that spike blood sugar rapidly. So eating them in a large quantities regularly is a significant risk factor for diabetes. Replacing some of these with vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and protein does not have to be expensive or complicated. It is about making small, consistent adjustments. And also exercise regularly. Yes. Physical activities, it makes your cells more sensitive to insulin, meaning they respond better to it, and blood sugar is controlled more effectively. So exercise is one of the most powerful tools for both preventing and managing type 2 diabetes. And again, walking counts. If you don't know how to jog, just walk around. You can start by walking around. So and also maintain a healthy weight because obesity is the single biggest modifiable risk factor for type 2 diabetes. So losing even 5 to 10% of body weight if you are overweight significantly reduces diabetes risk. Also monitor your blood sugar. If you have been diagnosed with diabetes, checking your blood sugar regularly tells you how well it is being controlled and whether your management plan is working. So your doctor will guide you on how often to check. So take your medication and attend follow-up appointments. Diabetes management is not a one-time event, it is ongoing. Regular appointments with your healthcare provider allow them to catch complications early and adjust your treatment as needed. Stop smoking because smoking significantly worsens both hypertension and diabetes by damaging blood vessels and increasing cardiovascular risks. So if you smoke and you have either of these conditions, stopping smoking is one of the most important things that you can do. Um, the key fact is that about this too is that both high blood pressure and diabetes are conditions that can be lived with very well with proper management. So people with both conditions are living full, long, productive lives. But the difference between a good outcome and a devastating one is almost always how early the condition was caught on and how consistently it was damaged. Now, what to do if you are already diagnosed? Yes, we're just talking about what to do if you're already diagnosed. Um, I want to spend a few minutes speaking specifically to anyone watching today, who has already been diagnosed with high blood pressure or diabetes or both. Because I know that some of the people in the room are managing this condition right now. Yes, I know some people are managing these conditions right now, and I want to speak directly to you. Firstly, I want to say this clearly. A diagnosis of hypertension or diabetes is not a death sentence. It is not the end of your life or your health. It is information. It is your body telling you what it needs. And with the right management, people with both of these conditions live long, full, active, joyful lives. So you don't have to kill yourself just because you have both. So it's just for you to seek medical attention so that you can be able to manage them. And also, I also want to talk about some of the most common ways people with this condition unknowingly make things harder for themselves. Because stopping medication when you feel fine, I said this earlier and I want to say it again because it is one of the most dangerous things that happen with both conditions. So feeling fine does not mean your blood pressure or blood sugar is controlled. It means the medication is working. So stopping it lets the condition comes back. If you stop your medication, then you're making the condition, the sickness to come back. So often without symptoms until something serious happens. And so I would advise you always attend, to like always go for medical checkup. Like I said earlier on, allow the doctors to attend to you. you know don't have to drop it simply because you're feeling fine, or because you feel all right. And also attending the doctor once and never going back. Managing chronic conditions, it requires regular follow-up. So blood pressure and blood sugar levels, they change, and medication does not need to be adjusted. So complications need to be screened regularly. Annual eye checks for diabetes, regular kidney function tests, foot checks. These are not optional extras. They are essential parts of managing this condition safely. Not telling family members if you have been diagnosed with hypertension or diabetes. This is a strong livelihood that close relatives share generic risk. So telling your children, um, your siblings, your parents is not a weakness. It is protecting them. It gives them information that motivates them to get tested. So managing stress for both conditions, chronic stress is a significant driver of worsening control. So if your blood pressure or blood sugar spikes under stress, and it does, then managing your mental and emotional well-being is not optional. It is part of your treatment plan. Diet and exercise are not optional additions, they are part of treatment as well. So medication works most effectively alongside lifestyle change. So a person who takes their blood pressure medication but continue eating extremely salty food and does no exercise is making their medication work with much harder than it needs to. So the combination of medication, diet and exercise gives the best outcomes. And finally, please do not be ashamed of your diagnosis. So so many people in Nigeria, they hide their conditions because of stigma or fear of how others will react. But the shame That shame can prevent people from taking medication openly. So from attending appointments, it prevent people from taking medication openly, from attending appointments, from making lifestyle changes because they do not want people to know. And so your health is more important than what anyone thinks. Please manage your condition with the same openness and consistency you would give to any other part of your life. I want to leave you with a picture before we close. Yes, I want to leave you with a picture before we close. Somewhere in Nigeria, there is a man. Let us call him Chukwuemeka. He's a 47 years old, a man. He's 47 years. He works hard. He provides for his family. He has never been to a hospital unless something was seriously wrong. He does not like doctors. He feels fine most of the time and maybe a little tired, a little thirsty, but he puts it down to stress and the heat. So one morning he wakes up and then he left the side of his face. He noticed that one side of his face was drooping, and so his speech was slurred. And so his wife panics and rushes him to the hospital. But guess what? He had a stroke, and he's just 47 years old. And so at the hospital, they discover he has had hypertension for years, undiagnosed, untreated. And so his blood pressure that his blood pressure that morning, was 210 over 130. Imagine, like his blood pressure that morning moved from 210 over 130. And so his blood sugar is also dangerously elevated. Now, two silent killers that had been building quietly in his body for years while he went about his life feeling fine. He survives the stroke, but is left with weakness on one side of his body. He cannot return to work for months. His family carries the financial and emotional weight of his recovery. And the hardest part, the part that his wife thinks about every day is that a simple blood pressure check at a pharmacy 2 years earlier would have started a conversation that might have prevented all of it. So I do not tell you this to frighten you. I tell you this because it is real, it is happening, and you have the power right now. So today, to make sure, yeah, you have the power right now, today, to make sure it does not happen to you or someone you love. So I want you to know your numbers, get checked, and act early. Before I let you go, high blood pressure and diabetes are not inevitable. They are not something you just have to accept because your parents had them. Yes, genetics plays a role, but lifestyle plays an equal or greater role. And lifestyle is something you have control over. Yeah, starting today, starting with the very next meal you eat, the very next walk you take, the very next appointment you make. 600,000 Nigerians die cardio from cardiovascular disease every year. Much of that is driven by uncontrolled hypertension. And 11 million Nigerians are living with diabetes, many without knowing it. And these are not small numbers, these are our people, our families, our communities. But here's what I want you to hold on to: knowledge changes outcomes. The person who knows their blood pressure is high and you know, starts managing it is not the same person as the one who walks around not knowing. The person who gets their blood sugar checked and discovers pre-diabetes and makes changes is not the same person as the one who find out only when they are facing an amputation. So knowledge is not just power. In this case, knowledge is literally life. So please get checked this week. Know your numbers. Take your medication if you have been prescribed it. Move your body, watch your salt, manage your stress, and tell the people you love to do the same. Okay, so this is the end of my of today's show. So I want you to please like this video if today gave you something important, and also leave a comment telling me one action you're committing to this week, whether it is getting the blood pressure checked, reducing salt, going for a walk, or booking a doctor's appointment. I want to see your comments. And also subscribe so you never miss a Thursday. And please share this video, because somewhere in your contacts, your contact list is someone who has been feeling tired and thirsty and brushing it off. Someone whose mother has been told that blood pressure is high and has not done anything about it. Someone who needs to hear this today. Your share could be the reason they finally do something. I'll see you next Thursday. Know your numbers, take care of yourself, and take care of each other.